Pennzoil Synthetics with Pure Plus technology makes this the time for performance. Winter is here, but with cold start protection and excellent performance in extreme temperatures, Pennzoil Synthetics keeps your engine purring, so you'll know winter is here isn't as ominous as it sounds. Visit Pennzoil.com and make the switch today.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, dog?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
And we are Jalen Jacoby on ESPN2. What do we do?
We get the people.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
They want.
Again, this is exclusive content for our podcast because we love and respect our podcast listeners who have been with us for years and years. And we welcome new podcast listeners.
Oh, you know what else we can do for our podcast listeners?
What's that, Jalen?
Since we're using that term, Reg, you got to drop that Eric B. and Rakim for the listeners.
For the listeners. There's a couple things I want to discuss. First thing we have to discuss is the debut of Do-Rag Jalen. Do-Rag Jalen was an idea that Jalen Rose came up with because Reggie gave him brushes to get the waves right, and Reggie was finally like, you got to take the next step. You got to take the next step.
Instead of walking around with them in your backpack?
You need a do-rag. And look, I'm a Caucasian American. I didn't really understand the function of do-rags until recently.
Or the spelling.
I didn't understand the function. I didn't really get what their function was. What does a do-rag do?
A couple of things.
Okay.
Keeps your hair in place.
Okay. My hair's never ran away.
The bottom line is we get so used to watching women in particular treat their hair. Take the time and the energy to make sure it looks a certain way.
Yep.
And, of course, we admire that. But what ends up happening is men don't take the same TLC for themselves a lot of times. And when you're dealing with African-American hair, we like to wear different styles, say like a cornrows. Well, when you get it done on Monday, you want it to be as crisp as possible for as long as possible.
Do-rag helps with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So how does the do-rag help with the waves?
The same exact thing. It lays it down. By the way, I'm not going to act like I'm the do-rag expert.
You're not. You're new to the do-rag.
I'm new to the game. I remember when we were rocking stocking caps. But I guess the do-rag helps create the compression and allows your hair to curl, which therefore, if you brush it and put a little juices and berries on it, you make it have 2 or 3 waves like I do.
Well, Do-Rag Jalen made his debut on ESPN2. Might get us canceled. Might get us an Emmy. It could go either way.
I love
it could
the
go
topics.
either way.
What about the topics? Those are the only things... Those were the type of topics that our podcast listeners got used to hearing over 6 years.
Well, here's something else the podcast listeners better get used to hearing is us bringing some of the topics that might be a little too hot for TV to the podcast exclusive. Specifically, don't get us fired.
And now, the Don't Get Fired topic of the day.
OJ's up for parole. My question for you is, do you want to see OJ paroled?
I do.
Okay. I want to see him paroled, too, mainly because I feel like that 33-year sentence was vindictive. And based on what I know about the crime from the excellent documentary that ESPN did and won an Oscar for.
Big shot, Ezra Edelman.
Oh, yeah, of course. It didn't seem like that was the most vicious or violent or true kidnapping experience. It just seemed like a bumbling, stumbling Vegas
retired football player with
yeah.
bad hips and bad knees, getting bad advice.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like kidnapping, and I mean, sure, it was a terrible thing to do.
Getting out of here.
It's a terrible thing to do, but you know, it was guns were involved. It was an awful crime. It was a crime. He's guilty of a crime, but 33 years seems a little excessive.
And I want to make sure that we acknowledge and we don't overlook the fact that he was convicted in a civil trial for the murders of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson.
And Ron Goldman.
Which you can't now use that as leverage in his parole case because it was a civil trial.
Yep, it's not, you can't. So it did feel like the judge in this particular Vegas incident was sort of retroactively giving him years for a previous crime that he was exonerated for.
And I have to say this for the listeners. I can't act like I wasn't one of the people that felt like he was guilty and got off.
You felt like he was guilty and got off?
I did.
Of course you did.
Okay, so I can't be a person speaking into a microphone saying he should be paroled for something that happened in Vegas, but not acknowledge that he did get off for something I felt like he did.
But the thing is, it doesn't matter what you feel. It matters what the jury feels. You know, like what you feel doesn't change his life. What the jury does.
Come on, Chris Darden. Like, you truly going to have a guy try on a glove in the courtroom? Like, you serious going to do that?
In retrospect, playing money quarterback was probably a bad decision.
You seriously gonna do that?
You could give me a Shaquille O'Neal-sized glove, and I could have trouble getting into it. Like, this is so hard.
And you already got on a plastic glove on top of that.
But let's go here now. Let's imagine that he is paroled, and then I think he's eligible to actually walk the streets October 1st, I read today, something like that. Don't hold me to that. We don't fact check. No. And what do you want to see next for him?
Leave this country and never come back.
Oh, that's interesting. Somebody tells me that's not going to be the case.
This is what he should have done when he beat the first case. Yep. You would have thought that he'd lie dormant, and you look up in 10 or 15 years, and he's in another country reinventing himself with a new haircut, with a new body style, doing a Sammy Sosa.
School teacher or something.
I want OJ to be Sammy Sosa when he
No, Jalen, don't go there. Direct Jalen, back direct Jalen. But I will say that I'm very concerned that there'll be some sort of low-rent reality TV sort of like exploitive money grab television show, just something like that's going to make me feel sad about his whole entire existence. I just want him to play golf. Go play golf somewhere.
How about
Go somewhere and play golf, OJ.
How about this? Yeah. The O.J. Simpson trial became the springboard of the success for the Kardashian brand.
Sort of. I think there was another incident. I can't remember it. Ray J was involved. That might have been a little bit more of a springboard. Let's move on before we get fired. You ever been to Aspen?
I have.
I have as well. It's a beautiful mountain town. Great ski slopes if you're into that sort of thing.
I have to say this, though. Played for the Nuggets. Enjoyed my experience my first 2 years in the league. And going to Aspen, clearly as you're about to articulate, you have to go really high in the mountains. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I'm not a fan of, unless I'm on the airplane, is being really high up.
The altitude.
And so I do recall going to a casino, sleeping in the car. And before I knew it, we were like 85%
First of all,
of the way
Jalen
there.
sleeps in anything that moves. I can't say we've been in Ubers together all the time. We could be going 4 blocks. Jalen sleeps.
I do recall thinking, I don't know how we're getting back down. Can we get a helicopter? I'm not going back down this 2-lane street in the middle of winter. Great experience, though.
One thing about Aspen is it's a high-end mountain town. You know, skiing is it costs a lot of money. Skis cost a lot of money. The clothing costs a lot of money. The lift ticket costs a lot of money. It's a sport that has a high bar to get over.
That's called cultural.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's not.
It is.
It's not.
You know what?
It's not.
You know it's not? When I can roll out the ball and don't need anybody around.
Exactly. Well, that's the point I'm trying to make. Is it's different. That is a higher level of entry to skiing, which is why I can't ski. I never skied. I never skied once until I was like 25.
How many times do you think I've skied?
0 times. Well, in this, I believe it was Aspen. If it wasn't Aspen, then I apologize. But there's a Louis Vuitton store.
Oh, now you're going to try to get the facts right. Or if it wasn't Aspen, then I apologize.
I apologize. I believe it was Aspen.
Got it.
At the Louis Vuitton store, there's a gentleman who wanted to buy $18,000 worth of goods. So I didn't know this, but in order to buy $18,000 worth of goods at the Louis Vuitton store, you have to like register, you have to fill out paperwork or something. So as he was doing so, he just sort of like explained, "Oh, I'm Chad Johnson. I'm Ocho Cinco." This gentleman looks a little bit more like T. Grizzly than Chad Johnson.
Shout out D-Town. What up, though?
It's just like he doesn't have a Chad Johnson look. And eventually they started asking follow-up questions like, oh, what's your phone number? He's like, oh, I forgot. Like, what's your address? Do you have any identification? And he was just like, I have to use the bathroom. And eventually authorities got involved. And I think he was actually charged with like impersonating someone else or, trying to use financial blah, blah, blah. Like he got hit with some pretty tough charges. This is the part I like. Chad Johnson found out and was like, I got you. I got you. I'll bail you out. Whatever you need.
How much was bail?
I don't know. Don't ask follow-up questions, Jalen. You know this about me.
This is a heartwarming story.
Oh, good. Here's the thing.
Should be an afternoon special.
Here's my whole point. If I'm trying to buy $18,000 worth of stuff, don't make me show too much. You know what I mean? Like if I've got a credit card and the ID matches the credit card, just let me live.
You got to do a little research, however. So if you're going to get flagged when you start spending over $10,000, you got to spend $9,500 twice.
Great point. Another thing is, what are you possibly buying that could be worth $18,000? Like some of this Louis Vuitton stuff is like a button-up shirt is $650. Like, are you serious? I can go to Macy's and get 10 of those for $650.
That's where I have to catch myself. I was in a Gucci store about to buy a polo, and all of a sudden I'm like, $650?
Yeah, no.
I like to go get a polo for $50.
That's what I'm saying. Like I was actually getting ready for the ESPYs this year, and I was in a store not to be named right now, and they're like, oh, well,
this sponsoring.
This button-up is, it's great. It's got this lining. It's made of this kind of fabric, and they're like, it's $250. And I was like, cool. Hold on a second. I'll be back. Right in the meantime, I'm going to go to Macy's and get one for $35. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look just as good and save $115. Just got a report via ESPN that the Cleveland Cavaliers are in serious talk with Derrick Rose.
It makes sense. He's a productive player in New York. Okay. They don't need him to be their starting point guard. They're going to need to add veteran players.
They got enough veteran players
who they don't have to necessarily rely on a nightly basis. That can help them get through the regular season.
Derrick Williams 2.0. That's what this is. This is Derrick Williams 2.0. Oh, he's a veteran player, and maybe he'll be revitalized and back to his all-star potential when he comes into Cleveland and LeBron James. It's not going to work out. Remember Darren Williams?
Deal.
Do you remember Darren Williams in the finals?
He's not Derrick Rose.
Do you know what this is? This is maybe we'll keep LeBron happy for 1 year, his final year in Cleveland.
To appreciate the beauty of a rose, you must respect the thorns.
Shout out.
Are you and Derrick Rose cousins?
People not only ask me, are we related? I don't know if I should be offended when they be like, are you his dad? I'm like...
Are you and Bella Thorne cousins?
I don't know who that is.
See what I did there? Rose Thorne? No? Bon Jovi? Every rose, you don't know that song? Has its thorn.
I do not.
It's a great song. I think it was the Young Guns 2 soundtrack. Do you remember Young Guns?
Come on. Young Gunners?
No.
No question.
No.
State property?
Have you heard of Drive-By Dunk?
Drive-By Dunk?
It's exactly what it sounds like.
I have not.
It's like one of these new internet fads where you drive by, you see a basket in someone's driveway, and you run up and dunk on it.
Sounds cheesy.
I like it.
Yeah, it sounds cheesy. That's how you get shot.
Have you? That's a great point. Yeah, especially if I see someone running up to my house. Like, you can walk up to my house, but you can't run up to my house.
No question.
Don't run to my house.
No doubt.
But when you have a basketball in your hand, it's a little different.
Don't try to do that.
Much less intimidating with a basketball in your hand.
Don't try to do that at Dr. Dre's crib.
Have you watched the Defiant ones?
I have not seen it, but I want to see it.
I want to see it too. Enough people. Here's how I do with media.
See Defiant
this is how I
too.
do with television shows. This is how I do with movies. I need someone else to go in the water first. You know what? And I've had enough people in my life tell me how good the Defiant Ones is that I'm going to try that.
But speaking of roses, one of the things that hurts my heart.
Speaking of roses, by the way.
No,
that was a while ago.
Yeah, it hurt my heart. Is one of my favorite groups of all time.
Bon
I think
Jovi?
they were first or second in our groups.
OAR?
Outkast. When Andre 3000 had a song that said roses really smell like boo-boo.
I remember that song. But it's boo, 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 boo. Jalen, you smell great. You actually do. You put some cologne on in the studio like 20 minutes ago. You smell great. Don't forget, podcast listeners, rate us, leave us reviews on iTunes, and we will never, ever sell out. Oh, wait. We'll totally sell out. But we'll never stop giving you
Jacoby right now is wearing a button-up, a blazer, looking handsome, teeth are shining, Harris cut.
Yeah.
You got the nerve to say we ain't going to sell out. We already did.
We done sold out years ago.
I don't even think about carrying the bat anymore. You don't even ask about it anymore.
Bat. You haven't seen the bat. You got a do-rag on and a gold chain and no bat. What? Let's get it. CJ McCollum and Dame Lillard are trying to get what they want, and they want Carmelo Anthony. They have reached out, and they have said that Carmelo Anthony is interested in waiving his no-trade clause for the Trailblazers. Do you believe this?
I give props to the Mr. Me Too's out there, but the first time the term Mama's Boys was used was on this program, affectionately be called Dame Lillard and C.J. McCollum, who have so many things in common besides being great basketball players.
Live with their moms.
Playing 4
like
years
Thurston
in college.
Howell III.
Living with their moms. And I just love that as a fellow mama's boy. With that being said, Carmelo Anthony would be a terrific fit with the Portland Trail Blazers. But the problem is, I think Carmelo's looking for splash as well as an opportunity to play on a winning team, not necessarily just to be a great fit.
And here's the thing. I believe that Carmelo Anthony has expressed interest to these individuals, but you know how it is when you're on the phone. They're like, hey, Carmelo, would you come? He's not going to say no. He's just like, yeah, sure, of course. But that doesn't mean he's going to sign the no-trade clause and waive it. You know what I mean? I think that he has spoken to them. Yes. He did express interest. Yes. But does that mean we're going to see Carmelo in a Blazers uniform?
Not going to be able to do it.
No. But I get it. You don't want to just tell somebody when you're on the phone, like, nah, I'm not going out there. No way. No, not good enough.
When you put a no-trade clause in your contract, now it's to the point where I'm picking who I'll go play with. So I'm playing with one of the BBBs, Banana Boat Boys.
Oh, okay.
I thought I was talking about Big Baller Brand, didn't you?
I had no idea. I had no idea what you were talking about. I had no idea what you were talking about.
Absolutely. So at this point, it's like if Carmelo Anthony does get traded, I expect him to see him playing with LeBron James or Chris Paul.
And there's not that much time left on his contract. So when he does get traded, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to stay in that place for a long time. This is interesting. James Jones, who has been to 7 straight finals. Who else has been to 7 straight finals?
The King!
Oh, that's right. He has retired, and he is now joining Phoenix's front office. This means that LeBron James to the Suns has to be somewhat in play, or at least on the board. Like, you know that conversation is going to happen at the end of this year. Does James Jones going to Phoenix means LeBron is going to Phoenix?
Hit the brakes. Are you seriously going to do this media thing?
Yes.
Like everybody that's attached to LeBron James that gets a job is going to be because LeBron James has a chance to go there?
Yes, I am going to do. Every time a Clutch Sports, like we did with KCP signed with Lakers, we're like, oh, that means LeBron's going to the Lakers. And now James Jones is going to Phoenix. Oh, that means LeBron's going to Phoenix.
What? So everybody's clear. As of right now, today, not even LeBron James know where he's going.
Of course not. LeBron James is going to make that decision after the season. But
let me say variables.
But so when he makes that decision, his phone will be open. James Jones will make a call, and he'll take that call, and he'll listen.
I am going to take this news and just make it about James Jones. J Hoops, one of my dudes. I'm happy to see him continue to progress, not only as somebody that was a knockdown shooter in the game, became a champion, had a really long career, has a terrific family. I think he's going to do a really good job at that position. He's a former Phoenix Sun. We played together there. We were members of the fitness club at the same time.
Explain the fitness club very briefly.
The fitness club is when you're part of Mike D'Antoni's team and you're in roster spot 8 through 14 or 15, there's a 95% chance, regardless of the score, regardless of the matchups, you will not play.
So you got to get your fitness in somewhere.
So those other 6 guys, 3-on-3 all day after practice.
You make it about James Jones because you were part of the fitness club with him, but I am part of the media, and I make everything about LeBron. 0 to 100. What's the chance LeBron goes to Phoenix?
0.
0?
Yes.
0?
You see, I was so ready to say no.
I know you were.
Yes. LeBron James will not be playing for the Phoenix Suns. LeBron James is going to play for a turnkey, what he deems a super team. He's not going to help young players find out how to be veterans in the league.
Make the playoffs?
He's not trying to be an AC that gets bounced in the first round by Russell Westbrook and Paul George. He's not putting himself in that position.
I think that's fair.
And also, don't sleep on this. LeBron loves dominating the East. Mm-hmm. If you look at the win percentages and the 50-win teams that he's had to eliminate and endure while dominating the Eastern Conference, it pales in comparisons to being in the West.
I also think he likes his final streak. Like, that's a nice little streak he's got going. He's not trying to go to the Suns and work with Josh Jackson and Alex Len.
Well, he do the humble brags every now and then, like, making it to 7 straight finals or averaging a triple-double.
None of it means anything without a championship. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, right, LeBron. Next we have this. Adam Silver was asked about sports gambling. He said, quote, "My sense is the law will change in the next few years in the United States." What does legalized sports gambling mean to the NBA commissioner?
Adam Silver is doing a terrific job as commissioner. And if you haven't been paying attention, the NBA is on fire.
It really is.
And
Summer League ratings were up 112%.
And also, it's not only the variable of the players in uniform and how so many people have gotten terrific contracts in the offseason, the intrigue of the Golden State Warriors being a super team with 4 All-Stars. It's the decisions that Adam Silver continues to make at the right time. Even things that people aren't paying attention to, like eliminating a couple of timeouts to make the game go faster.
Yep.
This is one of those decisions that we're looking at you, NFL. Here we come.
That's what the first thing I saw when I saw this, I was like, the NFL is far and away the most popular sport in this country. It is. And I think a lot of that is tied to fantasy and a lot of that is tied to gambling. And you've seen, as you said, the NBA start to close that gap of popularity with the NFL. NBA is now a 12-month sport. Free agency, the draft, and then summer league, and then training camp. It all starts to build. And we have this year-round news cycle of the NBA. And I think one of the reasons that the NBA is not as popular as the NFL is because you cannot gamble on it.
I could give you a list of NBA players that have never led a team in points, rebounds, or assists, and put them next to some NFL contracts of people that sell multiple jerseys, get high esteem in their sport because the NBA is coming. And you hate when I use this analogy, but we're at a stoplight. And the NBA's a Lamborghini, the NFL's is a
Don't
minivan.
say it. Why do you have to say that, Jalen? We were having such a good time. And then there you go, throwing shots at the minivan mafia. My minivan brothers don't listen to Jalen Rose.
Shout out.
So, Jalen, we started the week talking about Ezekiel Elliott. There was an alleged incident in a bar, and the police were investigating. The police are no longer investigating. They have suspended the investigation. They cannot find the victim. They have gone so far. I was shocked when I saw this. It looked fake. The Dallas Police Department is tweeting at the alleged victim with a phone number, being like, DJ D-Train, give us a call. This is interesting to me. There's just something fishy about this. Is there something fishy about this to you?
Well, first and foremost, I would think that it's probably illegal for the police department to tweet somebody.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Are you a lawyer, Jalen? What are you talking about?
I have to get on my Johnny Cochran right here.
You have no idea what you're talking about. The police department can tweet at somebody. That's not illegal. They can't get at him. This is today's day and age. They don't have his phone number, so they're trying to get him. But to me, I look at it like this.
Well, here's why you can't get at him. Let me tell you why. Because Ezekiel and the Cowboys already did.
They got at him first. That's what it feels like. I don't know what happened.
The Cowboys, while being champions in the 90s, were still notorious sometimes for being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Still are.
And partying a lot. You
Still
don't
are.
think they have the hook to every spot in Dallas? They reached out to the club, reached out to the DJ, gave him some hush money, gave him some Cowboys tickets.
That's what it feels like.
And he's going to be all good.
No, a couple things I wanted to be clear about. We do not know if Ezekiel Elliott actually assaulted anybody. There's been conflicting eyewitness reports. One bouncer said that it wasn't Ezekiel that threw the punch, so we don't know what happened. But if you get punched by a millionaire, the first thing you think is dollar signs. It's just kind of how it works in today's society. I don't support it. That's kind of the way it works. So you're thinking, this gentleman, or at least the alleged victim, DJ D-Train, does have some financial motivation to go into the police because this can become a lawsuit and he can financially benefit from it. And now all of a sudden he's disappeared. You don't think that maybe he already financially benefited from it?
But also, too, we live in a different culture, and I follow you on frivolous lawsuits. There's a book about that where people sue somebody for driving down the street too fast and giving me a whiplash by looking at the car. But with that being said, for Ezekiel Elliott, in this culture of stop snitching, this is probably one of those things where, I got punched. I ain't trying to be the dude in court suing somebody that's like my age, that we had a disagreement. Just give me the money under the table and I'm good.
And as someone who has broken his nose like 5 times, it's not that big a deal. It looks bad, but it's not that big a deal. You get it straightened out, and it doesn't come out that straight, as you can see. Next, we have this. There's a Fire Gar Packs billboard, a full-on billboard in Chicago right now, clearly aimed at General Manager Gar Forman and Vice President of Basketball Operations John Paxson and their recent decisions. Do they deserve this kind of treatment?
It's the culture of sports, and at this point they do. If you look at their team from the overall standpoint of regression, it has happened since the final year of Thibodeau and when they decided they were going to part ways with him. He didn't just leave. He upgraded. He went and got a bigger deal in Minnesota.
And got more responsibility.
And he lured your best player away from your roster in Jimmy Butler. And so when you're not winning in an Eastern Conference and a lot of these moves have gone awry, yes, they do have some young talent that I think has promise. You know how I feel about Zach LaVine.
Of course.
I do understand the frustration of the fans, and they have that right.
From a fan's perspective, it's difficult to deal with this. Last year, we made a run at it. We got Dwayne Wade. We've got Jimmy Butler. We're going to bring in Rondo. We're going to make the playoffs. Look, we're up 2-0 on the Celtics. We are competing. We're trying to get to the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs, and we're very close to that. And then here we are 4 months later, rebuild. Oh, now we're trying to lose. Now we're trying to get younger. And you know what? Not necessarily going to put out the team as good as we did last year, but we've got a long-term vision. As a fan, it's hard to swallow that.
And I got some texts on draft night about some people that were upset about something I said. And I want to reiterate what I said. I distinctly talked about the fact that they drafted a player and sent them to the Golden State Warriors so they could get $3.5 million, and they were going to use that money to buy out Rajon Rondo. How about that?
It was curious. It was like, wait, you need money now? Is you need a loan or something? Like, what has happened? It's like one of your friends trying to hit you up. Just hit the Warriors. Like, you guys got a little extra something for a draft pick or anything? Moving on.
And don't look for Dwayne Wade to get a parachute package bought out by this same team that I'm talking about.
I don't think that's going to happen. Jamal Crawford, formerly of the Bulls, just like Tom Thibodeau, are now both on the Timberwolves. He signed a 2-year, $9 million contract. Are the Timberwolves now a playoff team?
They are. When you look at the landscape of the West, and we have the standings in front of us, if you want to break them down, the Golden State Warriors, San Antonio Spurs, Houston Rockets, Clippers, OKC, and Portland with the healthy Nurkic, they will be in the playoffs.
And look, reading between the lines, sorry Jazz fans, sorry Grizzlies fans, seems like there's 2 spots to be taken, one of which I believe will be taken by the Timberwolves. It's way too early. We don't know injuries. All these things can happen. But that other spot just feels a little wide open, doesn't it?
Feels like the Denver Nuggets.
Or
adding Paul Millsap. I like them adding an all-star level player.
And they were a game or 2 away. They were a Russell Westbrook miracle shot away from making the playoffs.
So I agree with you. If Utah's out, and big shout to Coach Fizz in Memphis, if they're out, Minnesota and Denver elevate themselves.
Just for fun, I want to say, maybe the Lakers?
I thought you were going to say maybe the Pelicans.
Maybe the Lakers.
They do have Anthony Davis.
I just believe
and
that whatever
and
LeVar Ball says is going to happen ends up happening. I just see it that way. So who knows? You can't count them out.
Hold on, hit the brakes. Wait,
no, we're moving on.
The Lakers ain't making the playoffs this year. Stop
We're moving on. I'm going to introduce someone that new listeners and watchers of this show might not be familiar with. Not only is Jalen Rose an ex-NBA player, an analyst of not just basketball but all sports, Jalen Anthony Rose is the senior statue analyst, not at ESPN, in the entire world. There is no one in the world that cares more about statues and legacy than this man here. We have some statue news, Mr. Jalen Anthony Rose, senior statue analyst. A life-size balloon statue of Joel Embiid has been created by a gentleman who is now putting it up on Craigslist. My first question for you, does this count as a statue?
It does not.
Why not, Mr. Rose?
Because it's not weatherproof.
Oh, that's one of the criteria?
Absolutely. You got to have staying power. What happens when it rains or snows?
Balloons, not weatherproof. Not weatherproof. Also, he's putting this up on Craigslist. It's a life-size Joel Embiid. It's an impressive statue, as you can see. All he wants back is some tools. He just wants some tools. He wants some wood. He's asking for like a saw. He wants a miter saw. I had to look up what a miter saw even was. Why do you think he's charging such a low price for such a great piece of art?
There had to be a piece of him that have taken so much of his time, energy, and sweat equity in doing a phenomenal tribute to Joel Embiid. I truly appreciate it. There had to be at least a part of him that feels like Embiid to buy it.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, Embiid's on Twitter all day, every day. You know he's going to see this. You know I can at least get like a grip out of him for it. At least a grip out of him for it. We have a new character. Jalen Rose got really focused on his waves recently. With the help of our producer, Reggie, he's been brushing incessantly, and now he's added a do-rag to his repertoire.
Because when I was growing up, we wore stocking caps.
Now, since you've been wearing the do-rag, you've insisted that do-rag Jalen make an appearance on the program. I don't know how this happened, but here we are. I'm doing television with a gentleman by the name of do-rag Jalen.
Live and in living color.
You insisted that do-rag Jalen come on the show because do-rag Jalen has a different perspective on life.
He does.
And the human experience and sports.
Yes. And there's certain slander that I see as trending topics that do-rag Jalen just will not stand for on his timeline.
Let's address some of those.
There's certain slander that is unacceptable.
Look, do-rag Jalen, don't get real Jalen and real Jacoby fired, though, okay? Just keep it cool, do-rag Jalen. Do-rag Jalen. I saw Kevin Hart trending yesterday. There were some pictures. There were some allegations that perhaps he was not 100% faithful with his wife. Obviously, we don't know what happened, but we did see the pictures. Do-rag Jalen, your thoughts on Kevin Hart?
There will be zero Kevin Hart slander on my watch.
Okay.
And as do-rag Jalen, I'm here to acknowledge exactly what he was doing at 5 in the morning with that young lady in the vehicle.
What were they doing?
He was counseling her.
Yes.
He was just letting her know, like, there's some amazing side chicks that play on television, like Angela and Power, or Being Mary Jane. And she was a little disappointed because she heard about the side chicks of Charlotte possibly going to be on television. So all of a sudden, she was trying to get some advice from Kevin Hart of whether she should participate on that show or not.
It was 5 in the morning?
Yeah. And he
just early risers to go in and get some breakfast meeting.
Well, he was just trying to help her self-esteem.
They're on East Coast time.
Well, she knows that he's married. She knows that he has a kid on the way. She's having a hard time finding her own man. So she was trying to figure out how she should behave in this role.
Breakfast meeting, East Coast time. Next, do-rag Jalen. In Orlando at the Madame Tussauds, they have revealed a statue of Beyonce. Do-rag Jalen, what do you think about the wax figure of Beyonce in Madame Tussauds?
See, here's what happens when you become a billionaire and then you marry another billionaire. Sometimes people think you sold out, and Beyonce has not. Have you listened to Lemonade? You understand she still eats at Red Lobster, carries around hot sauce in her purse? That looks more like Mariah Carey or Lindsay Lohan than Beyonce. She wants a man with Jackson 5 nostrils.
I just don't understand how somebody could be in charge of making a real life-size, lifelike. The whole appeal of a wax figure is that it feels like the real person. And then you look at this and you're like, that is Shakira, Mariah Carey. That is not Beyonce.
They have never seen Queen Bee.
No. I was next to her one time. She actually glows. Like, she legit glows. Like, her aura is light and it beams from her. I'm not kidding.
She's not Becky with the good hair.
No. Do-rag Jalen. What should LeBron James do with his hair?
There's been a lot of slander about LeBron James. You saw him wearing the single headband at one point of his career. The double headband at one point of his career.
A little bit further on the head.
People wonder how he get the slits on the side of his head.
Like right
and all of a sudden in a commercial, he has a full hairline.
And then this summer he went bald, but he really just got like a zero clip. Like he didn't go bald.
Correct. And do you see him after practice? He has a pork chop up top. He kind of has a cut off halfway do-rag / stocking cap. Here's what you do, LeBron. You're an all-time great basketball player.
Hall of
You're
Fame.
a mogul. You have so many amazing things going for you. Just let the hairline thing go.
Yep.
He should just wear a do-rag during the NBA games.
During the games. And I think that you could claim that there was some sort of religious meaning to it, so he can't take it off. Like, he could do one of those moves.
We already talked about how the NBA has now licensed apparel with hoods on them. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
LeBron James was uncomfortable with the shirts.
Ripped it.
He had it really tailored. So now I want LeBron James to wear a Cleveland Cavalier ushered do-rag during the NBA season.
I'm glad you said Usher. Usher was also trending yesterday. I don't know how to put this. There were some reports that he may or may not have passed along something to someone that he had some dalliances with, and then he had to pay, I don't know, over $1 million to this person. Do-Rag Jalen, what do you think about this Usher situation?
There are people, as I walk the face of this earth, that may or may not know who I am and sometimes come up to me and call me somebody else.
Okay.
I've been called Usher before.
If you're dressed the way you are now, no one would recognize you.
And the thing is, he's probably 20 years younger than me. So that's pretty much a compliment.
Usher's older than you think, by the way.
Here's the thing. He probably, as a musician, grew up listening to a lot of Kool Moe Dee.
Mm-hmm.
He probably heard of the song Go See the Doctor.
Mm-hmm. I'm familiar.
And probably in that situation, it's a little dark in the room and you really trying to figure out what's happening. It was Avocado.
We're definitely getting canceled. Yep. Do-Rag Jalen, you have to settle something for the staff here.
Okay.
We had a lot of trouble with this. We spoke about this at length.
It's cultural.
There was a lot of Googling, and there was a lot of back and forth that got a little heated amongst the staff. Once and for all, Do-Rag Jalen, how do you spell do-rag?
Probably in the normal dictionary, Webster's.
Mm-hmm. I don't think do-rag is in the Webster's dictionary.
It's
I'm just going to throw that out there.
D-O-O.
Okay.
Hyphen R-A-G.
Okay.
And then in an English version, it's probably D-O.
Mm-hmm.
Hyphen R-A-G.
All of which are acceptable.
But in Urban Dictionary, it better be D-U hyphen R-A-G.
D-U.
And we putting it on wax.
Do-Rag Jalen is gone. He's left us. It's okay. Something tells me he might not be back. You never know. There's a lot that gets discussed. Sports media, pop culture, some of which is not worthy of discussion. We filter the two in a segment that we call Keep It Moving. If the topic is worthy of discussion, we will hit the brakes. If it is not, we'll keep it moving. First, the Warriors season tickets. The Warriors are requiring fans to buy a 30-year membership to get season tickets at the new arena. Keep
hit
moving.
The brakes.
The membership program will require season ticket buyers to pay a one-time fee that enables them to buy their seats for 30 years. However, they promise to pay back that fee after 30 years. They plan on selling 2/3 of their 1,800 seats to season ticket holders. 18,000 seats.
I appreciate the fact that they're capitalizing on the success of their franchise, understanding that their future is so very bright that they need shades.
Couldn't be a better time to build a new arena.
However, it's really unfortunate that now all of a sudden it's going to go, and it's done this in sports for the last 10 or 15 years, from actual fans being at the game to businesses and corporations.
Because that's where a lot of those
being
season tickets go. A lot of the season tickets go like, oh, you know, our office owns the tickets, or I'm an agent, I'm a Silicon Valley company, and we buy 4 tickets, and we have clients come in town, and they sit there. People complain about this a lot, and it's understandable, but it sort of feels like the live experience is becoming less and less part of the sports fan's life. Don't you think so?
It depends on who your home team is. Not when they're the Warriors, and you got people, half of the stands are full to watch Steph Curry do warm-ups an hour and a half before the game starts.
What do you think about 2/3 of the 18,000 tickets go to season ticket holders? Seems like a lot to me.
It seems like a lot. Again, it really blocks out what we consider fan experience. And it's unfortunate in the Bay Area, in particular Oakland, for a city that supported the Raiders that are now going to lose them to Vegas and the Golden State Warriors so very long. Now they're going to lose them to San Francisco.
What do you think about them being like, we'll pay you back after 30 years? Like, 30 years? What are we talking about? 2047? Is that what we're talking about right now? 2047?
Sound like Bobby Bo and the Mets.
Oh, I love that. Next. Keep it moving or hit the brakes. A woman tried to smuggle 102 iPhones taped to her body into China.
Keep it moving.
Okay. Chris Long has weighed in on Kaepernick's haircut controversy.
Hit the brakes. I got
Really?
a chance to meet
Can we
him
keep it moving?
and his significant other the other day at the ESPYs. He's doing a really good job working with our network. So I wanted to hear what he has to say, that's all.
Okay. He basically said, I like this one. Quote, I had a dirty mullet last year and worked for that company you love. You know, the one with the 5 rings on your background that you'll never touch. He's responding to someone else. He's basically saying, I had a dirty mullet and I got the job. So hair has nothing to do with the position. Hard to argue with that.
Come on, Michael Vick.
He made a little mistake. Michael Vick learned that when the microphones are hot, you have to be very careful with what you say. He learned quick. It's not easy in this media game. You got to be careful. It can go left on you very fast.
I'm not going to call him some terms from the Urban
No pun
Dictionary.
intended.
I just feel like you said he misspoke.
He misspoke.
I got love for you, Mike Vick.
Stephon Marbury is going to play one more year in China. Keep it moving or hit
We
the
can
brakes.
keep it moving, but I love to see my guy Starberry during the NBA Finals, and he was there for the debut of Jalen versus everybody to support.
Oh, good. J.J. Redick says he turned down more money from the Rockets to sign with the Sixers.
Keep it moving. He didn't want to be a substitute or a backup.
I did watch his documentary on the Uninterrupted. It's pretty good. Next, an El Salvadorian soccer player bites and twists the nipples of U.S. Josie Altidore during the game.
Hit the brakes.
I watched this footage. The nipple twist was just weird. It was just weird. And the funniest part is he twists the nipple, he gives the nipple a little tweak, and then Josie turns around like, what are you doing? And he falls to the ground real quick. Like, if you're going to twist another man's nipple, you got to be ready to fight. You got to be ready to fight.
The most I talked about nipples on this program was when you were training for the marathon.
Yes.
And so
I was very
wanted
concerned
to hit
about
the
my nipples.
brakes on this topic because I knew it would be something you're passionate
I'm
about.
very passionate about nipples.
So as the nipples expert of our very program, can you talk to me about any lingering effects that may take place because of this assault?
One of the lingering effects that may take place is he has a little bit of a domestic problem here. His wife is like, there's only one person on this planet that's allowed to bite you and twist your nipples, and that is me, not an El Salvadorian soccer player.
Why do you feel like he did that? There are
I don't
plenty of things he could have done.
I don't understand soccer sometimes. Like, I love the sport. I am a huge fan. I'm very excited about the U.S. team specifically that has not lost a game in 12 games under Bruce Arena. I'm very excited about the potential. I love Pusilic. However, can't twist nipples. It's just weird to me. And if you do it in the NBA, if you twisted somebody's nipples, they turn around, you wouldn't just fall over and pretend that they hit you. Let's keep it moving, though. The Lions president is trying to repair the relationship with Megatron and invited him to training camp. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Keep it moving. We're not about to do that to my squad on this program.
The Big Baller brand has filed a trademark for Melo Ball 1. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Keep it moving. He got a lot more work to do.
Poor LeAngelo. No one talks about him. No one talks about him.
It's like a spades hand when I watch the Ball family. They have 3 kids. But if you're talking about pro prospects, they got 2 in the possible.
They got 2 in the possible. That's fair. Le'Veon Bell says he wants to be paid as a top running back and a number 2 wide receiver in his new contract.
He wants to be paid like a number 1 back and a top-tier receiver, which is fair.
I'm going to hit the brakes on this. He's essentially saying, do not pay me like a running back. When you talk to my agent about how you're going to compensate me, don't say, well, David Johnson makes this or so-and-so. It's like, I bring more to the table than a normal running back, so I want to be compensated more than a normal running back. He's got a very good case.
How about this? And I don't know if it's cultural or not, but I would deem that a lion's share of the running backs in the NFL probably look like me, and a lion's share of the kickers look like you. How about kickers average more salary than running backs?
Is that a fact? Are you sure? What? You know what? I think race has absolutely nothing to do with that. In the NFL, if you perform, that's all that matters.
Okay.
That's what I think. I don't see race, by the way. It doesn't exist to me.
Reggie Roby knows what I mean.
Jerry Jones says Ezekiel Elliott needs to develop better awareness of his rock star status. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
Let's listen to Jerry Jones.
His style, personality, it's like a rock star wherever he goes in terms of attention. And that anybody that thinks about it, but certainly anybody that's experienced that, knows that takes some getting used to. You have to learn many aspects of that, and certainly Zeke is evolving and being subject to needing to learn how to deal with the media and social media the way it is today.
What do you think about Jerry Jones saying that Ezekiel Elliott needs to be more aware of his rock star status?
There are 1,300 players in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Only a few find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. Ezekiel Elliott continues to be one of those.
He's a habitual
who happens to be a member of the Dallas Cowboys. Therefore, playing as a guy that helped elevate their situation, the way he and Dak Prescott lit the league on fire as rookies, the Cowboys have now become a legit contending team. It does come with the territory, but it doesn't necessarily have to do with him being a rock star. It just has to do with him making better decisions. Because the things that he's doing, anybody can actually be doing.
Let me tell you what Jerry Jones is really saying. This is what Jerry Jones is really saying. Ezekiel, I'm not telling you can't get it in. I'm just telling you need to get it in private like I do. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to go to these clubs. You don't have to be on the float at the parade. It's like, you can enjoy yourself and have fun, but you just need to learn how to do it in hotel rooms and Airbnb rental houses and at your own house.
I like what you did there. Very nice, sir.
Like, you don't need to be out there. You can still enjoy yourself and be a young man that enjoys the fruits of his labor, but just enjoy those fruits behind closed doors.
But he's young and a millennial. And a lot of times they feel if the public doesn't see it or it doesn't happen on social media that it really didn't go down. This is why there's a statistic that say they look at their cell phone at least 65 times a day.
That seems low to me. Seems real low to me. I look at my cell phone 65 times before I get out of bed. And also, if you're Ezekiel, I'll be like, Jerry, I've seen some pictures of you. I've seen some pictures of you, Jerry. Next, a woman was convicted for murder. A witness was the victim's parrot, who kept repeating, "Don't bleep shoot," in the voice of the victim. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Keep it moving.
I do want to say one thing on this. It is under-respected and underspoken about. The fact that parrots can speak English. Like, there's an animal out there that can speak English and actually, like, says the right things in context. I walked into a pet store and the parrot was like, "Hello." I was like, "You're an alien or a ghost or something." It just feels weird. Parrots having the ability to speak, that we just look at it like it's nothing.
Also, we have to start giving more credit to horses in society. I
Really?
think they've become an overlooked asset.
Oh, yeah. We don't need horses anymore.
Their value is astronomical. Think
As
about
glue.
what we
As
did
glue.
before cars.
As glue.
There's a reason why people are betting multi-millions of dollars to watch them race.
Do you know what else people are spending multi-million dollars on? Their hair. We have a motto here. What's that motto, Jalen? one of the ways that we give the people what they want is we look at our Twitter feed. We go to our Reddit, our subreddit on Reddit, and we listen to our voicemails. If you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail. And if it's good, we'll play it on the show, just like this.
Hey, Jalen Jacoby. Big Houston Rockets fan here. Les Alexander, did he or didn't he tell James Harden and Chris Paul's agents beforehand that he was planning to sell the team?
Leslie Alexander is now going to sell the Rockets. The timing is interesting. The Rockets are at the peak of their popularity, at the peak of their contention in the last few years. And you know what? That's when you get out. Sell when you're high. And I think when you lock up James Harden for a multi-year contract and he's an MVP candidate, that is when you put your team on the market, not the other way around.
I mean, sell while you're high. Is that a reference to Red or Method Man?
No. Not a medicinal reference. Sell while the value is high of your franchise. And the Rockets franchise looks good right now.
Absolutely. If you look at the chess moves that they've been able to make happen over the last couple of years, bringing in D'Antoni. Obviously, re-signing James Harden to the largest extension in the history of the league.
Just a little gentleman by the name of Chris Paul's on the team now.
Adding him to the roster as well. As an owner, he's already won a couple of championships. You don't need to explain to the players if and when you're deciding to sell the team. Here's why. It don't affect my money.
Exactly. James Harden's like, I don't care who owns the team. Because whoever it is, they got to pay me.
And the difference between the NFL and the NBA, these contracts are guaranteed. So I do not care at that point.
And one thing that's ups the value of this franchise is long forgotten is Yao Ming. Yao Ming brought in a large audience from a region of the country that is basketball hungry, and they've gravitated towards the Houston Rockets jerseys and the Houston Rockets franchise.
I still don't think international prospects should be graded on a curve, therefore making it easier for them to be in the Hall of Fame. If Yao Ming was an American-born player based on his statistical
based
production,
on his longevity, his statistical production, and just eye test, he's not a Hall of Fame player.
He would not be a Hall of Famer.
Next, we're going to our subreddit. That is reddit.com/r/Jalen and Jacoby. I'm on there watching, seeing what you guys are saying about me. Not all positive. This is from DJ Moneycut, who once recorded a track about us. Shout out to DJ Moneycut. Soft move or boss move? Waiters who don't write anything down when they take your order.
Boss move.
No, soft move. Just don't. I don't want to worry about whether or not you got it right. See, one thing I know about you, when you go to restaurants, you do not just order. You do not just order. You don't just, and you also don't say, hey, I would like that well done. You say, I would like that well done. I was like, is that actual peppercorn? I'd like you to use black peppercorn. I want Himalayan salt on the side. And I also, you know what? The peas, I'd like you to take out the individual peas from the pod and not give me the pod of the peas. You put qualifications on every single thing that you order everywhere you go.
Take the skin off a snake and rip a pea from a pod?
No, I'm not LL.
It's a boss move.
No, it's not.
You're really good at your job if you don't need to write anything down. You notice I never write anything down.
That's because you don't prep for the show. Next, we have this. Michael says, is it a soft move or a boss move for Carmelo Anthony being salty at Lala for filming that scene topless with Tommy in Power?
Soft move.
It's her job. That's what she does for a living. It's no big deal. And anyone who's been on the set of a sex scene, which I have not, but I'm speaking like I have, it's really not sexy from what I hear.
That's not accurate. You're misleading the American people, and I'm just not going to allow that to take place.
First of all, we mislead the American people pretty much every minute of every day on this show.
And we're not just in America. We're international. I'm sorry I even went there. With that being said, anytime you're naked, 98% of the time, and you're laying next to another individual, yes, there are 100 people around holding cameras.
Let's move on.
Holding scripts and whatnot, but you can't act like it's just not intimate at all. That's you're perpetrating the fraud when you do that.
That's what I do. Next, we have Anthony Smith on Twitter. He has a very good question. Jalen, if you could sign a one-year deal with any NBA team other than the Warriors or the Cavs, who are you picking?
Forget the Warriors and the Cavs, the Pistons.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Come on, man. Stop it.
I knew you were going to say that.
Stan
Van. You got Stan Van there. You know what I love? I love that clip of Stan Van Gundy with his handles. You know the one I'm talking about. Crossing up and going around like, oh, look at Stan Van. I know you would pick the Pistons. I absolutely knew you were going to pick the Pistons with that one. What if you couldn't pick the Pistons?
I want to be in ownership then.
Jalen, I really want you to be in ownership. But you know what that costs? A lot of money. Like, they're not just going to give you a piece to do some, like, appearances.
I got to get on the phone with Derek Jeter, Michael Jordan, Magic.
You see Dikembe Mutombo was trying to make a run at the Rockets?
Hey, Mutombo, big fella, I was your rook. I remember going to the CVS runs in the middle of the night for you. I also remember graciously donating to your hospital in the Congo.
And don't get us canceled. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Don't forget, we are now on ESPN2 at 2 p.m. for a limited run. Don't forget to DVR series that. We have been looking at all of the social media response. People have been hitting us up with screenshots of the DVR messages. We are going to send T-shirts to those that do so. We're going to wait like another week, pick the best tweets, the best Reddit posts, the best IG posts, and give those people T-shirts.
We need to give out some cash.
What? What? I'm not even sure that's legal. Hey, if you got a Nielsen box, I'll give you some cash. You got a Nielsen box, you get cash. Everybody else, you get a T-shirt. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget, leave us a review and give us 5-star on iTunes.